Hey review family, keep it I keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, the review guy reviewing music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you guys another video. So I'm a bit late to the party on a very controversial thing that has basically peppered the metal sphere for years ever since its release. I finally took it upon myself in the deep hours of the AM to find a place where I could watch Lords of Chaos. And right away, the mere mentioning of that name probably has you thinking a lot of different things. And to be fair, this niche, the people in this niche, the community have bashed this movie to absolute hell. And for the sake of this video, I don't want to just reiterate or regurgitate those points, and more so, I want to express my feelings and thoughts about why I think Lords of Chaos is such not only an accurate movie, but one that kind of stains on the history of the formation of black metal, specifically in the early 90s scene, and why I think it failed. Because at face value, the movie did very well, it performed very well. Critics and moviegoers and the average audience found it to be this romanticized, just fantastical scene because it felt sort of like an autobiography for all of these people and less of a genuinely real historical moment in time and a series of events that were just grossly misrepresented and told in such a way that I think sells so much short. Because if there is a scene in metal that is rich and vivid and lively and has so much meat on the bones, it would certainly be the early black metal scene in Norway. So I just want to go over a couple of the things that I think this movie failed to get correct. Now, obviously, if you are unfamiliar with Lords of Chaos, it literally just is the early 1990s and sort of both the rise and the fall of so many figures in the early Norwegian black metal scene. People like Euronymous, people like Varfrikurnus and Necro Butcher, Faust. There are a lot of portrayed people, and generally I do want to say that when it comes to the actors, they did get a decent amount of people that either looked like the people they were portraying, but that sort of leads me on to my first point. This feels like they tried to desaturate this entire story into a Hollywood blockbuster that had so much glitz and glamour to it and tried to make it fake dark, fake forlorn, fake evil, fake satanic. I don't know how to really put that into words, but the best way I can sort of equate that in an odd analogy, because you know how much I love my odd analogies. You know how sometimes when you get like a flavored candy or a flavored beverage, it will feel like it is trying too hard to approximate it, like if you were to drink like a bacon soda or if you're eating a really bad fruit snack that just does not equate to the actual flavor, but you know what it's attempting to do. It's just missing the bullseye so hard that it just is so distant from what it should be. And not only that, but the director basically came out and said that not only is the movie about truth and lies, but there are romanticization. And I understand that when you're trying to make a movie that is based on real events, like a war movie or something along those lines, you always have to have a level of suspension of the actual reality. And it's up to the director and the director's vision of how much they want to really lay into the actual phenomenon and the actual storyline of the historical event. This happens a lot in war movies where it will either be so close to the point that it will be very raw. There are a lot of war movies that really do this well. One of my favorite being 1917, and another one that comes to mind is Dunkirk, or some of the historical figures that they have done, such as Lincoln or Churchill or Gandhi. The issue with this directing lies less in the story and more so trying to make it seem like you are actually telling the story of these figures, but changing just enough to make it off enough to feel cheesy, to make it feel corny, and completely sapped of all of the richness to be able to commercialize to an audience that would be easily offended. And I think it makes it even worse that this movie was based on a book that came out before that was also detailing the history of the early Norwegian black metal scene under the same name. And if I'm going to lay into the direction, I'll take that a step further and say they basically missed the entire point of early black metal and what made these young people rebel, what made these young people feel so disenfranchised and tortured, and the severe mental illnesses that they clearly were suffering from and the environment that they were put into in Norway. they made it seem like sort of just a bunch of rowdy, rebellious teenagers that were just burning things for the hell of it and killing each other because they thought it was fun, and torturing animals just for fun and killing animals just for fun. It's really a lot more complicated than that, and taking 2 seconds of research into any of these figures will know that they're not nearly as one-dimensional or one note as they got portrayed as. It's a very complex scene, and it's a very complex history, and boiling it down to just a bunch of angry teenagers who are mad at the world and putting up middle fingers and trying to push back by killing things and burning things and destroying things, it just sells short the humanity and the intricacies that made the scene so interesting to begin with and made it such a meticulous jigsaw puzzle with so many moving pieces. And I get that condensing it down to movie form comes with a lot of stipulations, and there definitely would be reservations about making it as complicated and expansive of a story as you could, but it's just simple things like the way dialogue comes across, the direction on the acting, the scene management, the lighting and the effects are generally pretty good, but when it comes down to the brass tacks of the production of it and the direction of it and what direction they took these characters into, and I don't really blame the actors because they were just doing what they were told, it makes it come off like this B-list horror movie. And when you have a movie that is clearly attempting to seem like it is credible, to seem like it actually is telling the story, all you are doing is further educating people in all of the incorrect statements and stigmas and stereotypes that are associated so heavily with black metal, especially that era of black metal. The average person that maybe does not know hell or high water what the fuck black metal is, but have heard whiffs of it, they're generally going to know the bad. They're going to know, oh, Satanism, oh, church burnings, oh, murder, but they're not going to know what went into that, what caused that, who committed them, why, what were the repercussions, what came after, what bands were they associated with, what were the conflicts that happened within their little cliques and their little groups. And that's not even getting into like the religious aspects, the pagan aspects, the anti-Christianity aspects. Europe's had this constant war to bring back paganism for like the longest time, and there are a lot of practicing people still in it. I come from a Scottish background, and at the end of the day, I don't think Lords of Chaos as a film is necessarily the worst offender of this sort of genre and this niche. I think I do agree with the critics, and I do agree with goers, that as a production, it's pretty good. The graphics are nice, the lighting's nice. I do appreciate the attempt to have the atmosphere, because certainly that is one thing the movie does get correct, is it does have very atmospheric lighting and a lot of tinges that make it seem dingy and brings you into this sort of dated world that feels timeless. When it comes to the world building of this time period, I think that that is probably the only thing that was consistently gotten correct, because I did get pulled into the scenes a lot. It's just what was within those scenes that let me down a lot. And listen, I don't really support quite a few of the artists that are portrayed in this movie, but holy shit, did they not do them justice when it came to the casting. Some are better than others, but some just fall flat on their faces with dryness, with not portraying them correctly, and sometimes without even looking like them. And this isn't like you're portraying a book character that you don't know the appearance of because it's just described and you can take artist creative liberty. No, these are actual people with actual figures and actual references and actual pictures that actually exist. So to just wrap this up, I don't think Lords of Chaos is bad just because, it's bad, just like a lot of people say. I think there are some genuine reasons that they desaturated to commercialize and dumb down the source material to the point to where it just feels cheesy and it feels over the top and it feels like it's glamorous when it literally should be as far separated from that as possible, because the ideologies and the individuals that you're playing with have dark histories and they just did not lay into them. They took all of the bad, they took all of the shock value, they took all of the headlines and tried to make them these Hollywood scenes. Every bad image and every bad event, they just harnessed and put into this movie without ever talking about the good, without ever talking about the complexity. It was just solely every little shocking moment that could keep viewers on the edge of their seat and waiting with their popcorn and just being like, oh, what's this crappy teenager gonna do next? And it just really frustrates me and infuriates me that that is the representation that we would get in such a big media, because it's very rare that a film about metal or metal history breaks out into, I would say, close to the mainstream and is viewed by a lot of people that maybe don't know much about it. And if this is what you're educating people with, you really need to get your priorities straight, because this is not doing it. And this is just furthering the stereotypes that people associate with black metal and the outsider culture that's associated with it. It's just really fucking frustrating. But if you guys have seen Lords of Chaos, let me know down in the comment section below what you thought about it. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is Jay Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.